In this video, I'm going to explain to you the city's new approach to short-term rentals and what they are calling their Good Host Guide, what kind of business license is required for all short-term rentals in secondary suites, and fines for non-compliance that could be as high as $8,000. And if you stick around until the end of this video, of course, I'm going to tell you how I feel about all of this, what I think this is going to do to short-term rentals, and what effect this is also going to have on Calgary's rental market or long-term rental market. City of Calgary approved changes to the business license bylaw to require business license and regulations for short-term rental hosts in Calgary that came into effect January 1st, 2024. Here are the key changes that took effect earlier this month. A floor plan of the dwelling unit or portion of the dwelling unit offered must be provided, including all rooms for rent, including all rooms offered as bedrooms or available for the purpose of sleeping. So this would mean a living room with a pull-out couch, for example. You must have the location of all smoke alarms and fire extinguishers, location of fire exits, dimensions of all the rooms, proof of ownership of the dwelling unit or written consent from the owner of the unit. If you're in a condo, you need to have written proof from the condo board that short-term rentals are permitted in the building. You must have proof of insurance indicating that the location is operating as a business, a licensed inspector review, annual fire inspections done by the Calgary Fire Department will help you stay in compliance with City of Calgary to make sure that all of the safety requirements are met. The City of Calgary has three basic goals here with their Good Host Guide and the changes to short-term rental business licenses. They're looking for greater accountability, enhanced safety, and improved community impact. From the city website, the new requirements will include a review of the property to improve impact on neighbors. Reviews will ensure that the property is being operated in a manner that does not disturb the peace of any individual. And this is going to make it quite challenging, I think, for townhouse condominiums and high-rise and low-rise condominiums, especially if condo boards are not allowing short-term rentals to be operated. There's really not going to be much of a way to get around this. So short-term rentals moving forward, it's going to be, I see it being quite challenging to get these into a lot of condo buildings unless you have a board that's pardon the pun, but on board with this. I hate that I said that. I've included a link to the City of Calgary's Good Host Guide in the description below. I would encourage you to go check that out. It's laid out quite clear and simple. I do like the City of Calgary's website. There's a lot of transparency on what they're doing here, and it's quite easy to navigate as well. The changes to the business license requirements strengthens the accountability of short-term rental hosts and property owners, reduces negative impacts on the community, and enhances the safety of guests. The bylaw change reflects the city's commitment to creating a fair and sustainable environment for all residents, visitors, and businesses. So I think if you're looking at this through the lens of a property investor, you're seeing this as quite a hurdle to having a short-term rental. But I think from the standpoint of the guests who are staying and then the residents that are living in close proximity, I think that this is really what the City of Calgary is trying to do, is they're trying to make it so that there's just a little bit more accountability on the part of the owners or of the short-term rental host. The business license bylaw includes a two-tier business license category for short-term rental hosts. All hosts must have separate short-term business licenses for each of the properties that they rent out. A Tier 2 license, you actually have to obtain your fire permit or your fire inspection before you get your business license, whereas at Tier 1, you're able to get your business license and then follow up with your fire inspection afterwards. So as we look at the two-tiered system here, Tier 1, of course, just one booking, 1 to 4 rooms, occupants 1 to 8, not including minors. 30 days or less. Now that's the definition of all short-term rentals, is a 30-day or less. Here are the costs associated with that. Tier 1, basically $210 per year. With a Tier 2, we're looking at 5+ bedrooms. Okay, this is a large property. Honestly, we're going to see most properties fall under the Tier 1 category. 9+ occupants. I'm not sure if you've ever tried to rent an Airbnb before, but it's very rare that we find Airbnbs that allow more than 9 people. Basically, it's a small price difference between the two, $282 for a Tier 2 versus $210 per year for a Tier 1 business license. Okay, so short-term rentals and secondary suites. I won't go too deep into secondary suites and the difference between legal versus illegal. That's an entirely different video altogether. But a secondary suite is essentially a self-contained dwelling unit within a principal residence or in the backyard, so like a carriage house. They have separate living quarters, cooking, sleeping, bathroom facilities from the main residence. It's its own contained unit. Some hosts are able to rent out a secondary suite for a short-term rental. You're allowed to do that. In this case, the suite must meet all City of Calgary secondary suite requirements. So it needs to be a legal secondary suite. If it's being used as a short-term rental, the host must have a business license as well. So just because you have a legal secondary suite doesn't mean that you don't need to have this business license in place. If you have an STR, you need to have the business license. All secondary suites that have STRs in them must be registered with the City of Calgary and must be legal. So if you think you're able to rent out your illegal basement suite as a short-term rental, think again. Fines for non-compliance. The city's approach is to achieve voluntary compliance for bylaws whenever possible. This means that they're going to be working with hosts whenever they can to ensure that they are complying with the bylaw. Failing to do so will or could result in $1,000 fine for each of the following convictions. So let's take a look at what those are. Offense number 1 is offering a room without a window. So every bedroom must have a window, and if you look into the Good Host Guide, again, I've got that in the description below, we've got the size of the windows as well. They must be proper egress windows, and that, of course, would not apply for high-rise condominiums or most condos for that matter. You're not allowed to have guests sleep in a room without a window. So you can't have, sometimes we see condos with a den, it's an interior bedroom, no window. You're not allowed to actually rent that out. You can't have any more than 2 adults in a room. Kids, minors don't count towards those. You can't have overlapping bookings. If you fail to include your license number on an advertisement, so wherever you're advertising your short-term rental, you do need to include your business license, and that's, I think, to me, is probably going to be the number one way they are able to find people out here. Failure to post an emergency contact information, failure to keep record, and failure to provide the records if the city asks you for them. Now, again, in the Good Host Guide, they've got some pretty good printouts that you're able to fill out, post on the wall, as things like the fire escape plans that you can have made up, even things like your emergency contact information is really easy to fill in, and then also you can have a poster of how we do our garbage and our recycling. You can have that posted as well. So here are my thoughts on all of this. At the end of the day, the City of Calgary is right for wanting to put some controls and safety standards in place for hosts, guests, and those in the surrounding area that might be affected by having a short-term rental in close proximity. I think these extra hoops that property owners will need to jump through will help to reduce the number of STRs in the city. And right now they're swallowing up a lot of inventory for people looking for long-term rentals. This is one of the reasons we've had such a dramatic rent increase over the past few years. We have a shortage of inventory, plain and simple. Investors are scooping up property that would otherwise be slated for renters looking to sign 1- and 2-year lease agreements, are taking inventory off the market, and overall the business of short-term rentals is bad for renters in Calgary. This doesn't mean that I'm against STRs completely. I've used them myself. I see the value in them, but I would like to see them return to what the original vision for short-term rentals was, which is renting out a portion of your property or a room in your home or maybe a basement suite. STRs are a lucrative business for investors, but if we make the barrier to entry just a little bit more challenging, perhaps some investors will turn to just renting their properties out on a long-term basis, which in the end is going to ease some of the pressure that our renters in Calgary are feeling. All the links you'll need are included in the video description, including the link to the Good Host Guide. Thanks for watching this video. Hit the like button if you've got this far. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this and stay informed on Calgary's housing market. My name's Andrew Jones with CIR Realty. Thank you for watching.